She almost walked out of the cafe that morning, and if she had, she would have missed the moment that changed everything. Before we begin, take a second to like this video and subscribe to the channel, because stories like this remind us that the smallest acts of kindness can echo louder than any sound in the world. The bell above the cafe door jingled, though Maya never heard it. She felt the faint vibration through the glass as she stepped inside, brushing rain from her coat. The smell of roasted coffee beans wrapped around her like a familiar blanket. It was her favorite part of the day, the warmth, the routine, the quiet comfort of sitting near the window with a book and a cup of caramel latte. Maya had been deaf since birth. Silence wasn't something that frightened her, it was the world she knew. But what exhausted her was not the silence, it was the constant reminder that the world was not built with her in mind. The cafe was busier than usual. She hesitated when she saw the line stretching toward the door. Normally, she used an app to pre-type her order and show it to the barista, but her phone battery had died on the bus ride over. She swallowed, tightening her grip on her purse. It was just coffee, she told herself. You can do this. When it was her turn, she stepped forward and offered a polite smile. The young barista spoke quickly, lips moving in a blur. Maya caught only fragments, none of them enough to understand. She pointed to the menu board and gestured carefully, shaping her hands to indicate, medium latte, caramel. The barista frowned, misunderstanding. He grabbed a paper cup and asked something again, louder this time, as if volume could bridge a gap that sound never could. Maya felt the familiar heat rising in her cheeks. She tried again, slower, exaggerating her mouth movements so he could read her lips. But he turned to a coworker for help, clearly flustered. The line behind her shifted impatiently. A man sighed loudly. Someone checked their watch. She wanted to disappear. It wasn't anger she felt, it was the quiet humiliation of being a problem in a place that was supposed to be simple. She reached into her bag for a pen, but it wasn't there. Her hands trembled slightly. Maybe she should just leave. That's when she noticed the little girl. The child stood a few feet away, watching her with wide, curious eyes. She couldn't have been more than 6, her dark curls bouncing as she tugged at her father's jacket. The father, tall, tired-looking but gentle, leaned down to listen to whatever she was whispering. Maya didn't expect anything, she had learned not to. But then the father stepped forward. He touched the counter lightly to get the barista's attention, then turned to Maya. Slowly, carefully, he raised his hands. Latte, he signed. Maya froze. Her breath caught in her throat as her eyes widened. His signing wasn't perfect, it was slightly stiff, like someone who had practiced from books or late-night videos. But it was real, it was clear, and it was meant for her. Yes, she signed back, her movements quick with relief. Medium, caramel, he smiled, a nervous but warm smile, and turned to the barista, speaking aloud while also signing bits he remembered. She'd like a medium caramel latte. The barista nodded quickly, grateful for the translation. The tension dissolved like sugar in hot water. Maya felt something she hadn't expected that morning, seen. The little girl beamed proudly and began signing too, though her hands were tiny and slightly off. We practice every day, she signed. Daddy says it's important. Maya knelt down so she was eye level with her. You're very good, she signed gently. The father rubbed the back of his neck. My sister is deaf, he explained, speaking slowly so Maya could read his lips. He signed along imperfectly. When my daughter was born, I realized how much I didn't know. So we started learning. Maya felt a sting behind her eyes. She had spent so many years adjusting to others, reading lips, writing notes, smiling through misunderstandings. Rarely did someone step into her world without being asked. They moved aside while waiting for the coffee. The little girl, Emma, continued signing excitedly about school in her favorite color. Her father, Daniel, apologized playfully for his rusty skills. I'm still learning, he said. Single dad, full-time job, ASL homework at night. Single dad. The words carried weight. Maya noticed the faint exhaustion under his eyes, the way he kept a gentle hand on Emma's shoulder as if grounding himself. When her name was called, she didn't hear it, but Daniel did. He handed her the cup carefully, signing, "Here you go." It was such a simple moment. A cup of coffee passed from one hand to another. But to Maya, it felt like a bridge. She thanked him, signing and speaking softly. You didn't have to do that. He shrugged lightly. I know. That answer lingered with her long after she sat by the window. He didn't have to. That was what made it powerful. Over the next few weeks, their paths crossed again. The cafe became more than a place for coffee, it became a quiet meeting point. Daniel would practice new signs he learned. Emma would show off the alphabet, fingers wiggling with enthusiasm. Maya found herself laughing more, a silent laugh, shoulders shaking, eyes bright. She learned Daniel's story in pieces. His wife had passed away 2 years earlier after a sudden illness. The grief had been sharp and disorienting. He had struggled to balance work, parenting, and his own heartbreak. Learning sign language had started as a way to honor his sister, but it became something more. It became a reminder that even when life takes something from you, you can still choose to give. One afternoon, as rain tapped against the windows, Maya admitted something she had never said aloud. Sometimes, she signed slowly, I get tired of asking the world to understand me. Daniel nodded, understanding more than she expected. Sometimes, he replied, I get tired of pretending I'm not overwhelmed. They sat in that shared honesty, the kind that doesn't need sound. Inspired by that first day, Daniel spoke to the cafe manager about adding simple sign language training for staff. At first, the idea seemed unnecessary to them. But Emma, determined and fearless, insisted on demonstrating the alphabet to anyone who would watch. Maya offered to help. Within a month, the cafe staff could sign basic phrases, welcome, what would you like? Thank you. It wasn't perfect, but it was effort. It was inclusion. The first time a barista signed directly to Maya without hesitation, she felt that same warmth bloom in her chest. Not because she needed special treatment, but because she no longer felt invisible. What started as a single signed word had grown into something larger, a ripple of awareness. And somewhere along the way, something else grew too. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't rushed. It was quiet, like her world, but steady. Daniel began staying longer at the cafe. Emma began drawing pictures of the three of them sitting together. Maya found herself looking forward to mornings not just for the coffee, but for the company. One evening, as golden light spilled through the windows, Emma climbed into her father's lap and signed, Daddy smiles more now. Daniel laughed softly, slightly embarrassed. But Maya saw the truth in it. Grief had once dimmed his expression. Isolation had once weighed on her shoulders. Yet here they were, three people connected by something as simple as a willingness to reach across silence. Months later, the cafe hosted a small community event, Silent Hour. For 1 hour, music was turned off, phones were silenced, and customers were encouraged to communicate using basic sign language. The turnout surprised everyone. Maya stood near the counter, watching people stumble and laugh as they learned. She watched barriers fall, not because the world had changed completely, but because a few people decided to try. Daniel stepped beside her and signed, much more confidently now, you started this. She shook her head gently. No, you did, with one word. He smiled. Latte. She laughed, eyes shining. That day, Maya realized something profound. Inclusion doesn't begin with grand gestures. It begins with attention, with courage, with one person choosing not to look away. If this story touched your heart, take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the channel. Share it with someone who needs a reminder that kindness doesn't have to be loud to be powerful. Because somewhere, right now, someone is standing in a crowded room feeling alone. And maybe all it takes, to light up their world, is a single signed message.